In this video, we are going to be talking about what's going on in the market, some NFT drama, and we're going to be talking about whether or not Azuki is going to be making the greatest NFT comeback of all time. And by the way, make sure to follow me at Patrick Dang on Twitter and join the Parallax Discord if you want to be updated on our latest NFT. So the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be the market sentiment, right? From the macro perspective, what is going on in the markets? So as we can see here, just a couple days ago, everything was just going down, everyone's portfolio is dying, and then there's a little bit of a bounce here. I'm not saying the bull run is back, most likely not, but you know, it's kind of stabilizing a little bit. And just so you know, things can get a lot worse before they can get a lot better. A lot of times they might call this a dead cat bounce, where it goes down really hard, then it bounces a little bit, and then it's dead, right? So we can't really say what it is quite yet, but some people are buying NFTs. They're dollar cost averaging into NFTs when prices are cheap, but you might also be taking the risk that, hey, maybe things might get even lower than this. So Ethereum, which is the one I am paying attention to the most closely over the past 7 days, yeah, you know, it dipped all the way to 1.8, which was pretty much the bottom, and then now it's back to 2. So is it going to go back to 3? We'll have to see, because the macro trend where, you know, S&P 500 and overall economy, you know, if you study anything about debt cycles, sometimes there's going to be an overall correction. So that may heavily affect the crypto markets. Now, when we're talking about NFTs, you know, for the most part, when you look on Opensea, like everything's red. You know, there are some things that are pumping up, but for the most part, like all the floor prices of like almost every single project is dropping, even if they have volume. And that's mainly because people are selling their NFTs, right? So just because an NFT has volume, it doesn't mean that it's going to increase in price. And if we're looking at non-sen, right? So we're going to look at the blue chip 10, and basically that's taking the top 10 blue chips, right? And over the past month or so, you know, those top 10 was kind of like blowing up. But as we can see here, there's been a huge correction of like negative 37%. And then even if we go to the non-sen top 500, we see like this big drop from May 4th, and it's just kind of been going down and down and down and down. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you buy certain NFTs, let's say you want to buy a Clone X because you're like, oh my God, it used to be 17 ETH and now it's like, you know, 11 ETH or whatever it is, right? Well, the thing is, you might be catching a falling knife and things can get a lot worse before they can get better. But I mean, depends on your budget and depends what you're buying. But if you can dollar cost average in, that's an interesting strategy. But also understand that, hey, you might be buying these assets and you might have to hold it for a long time as well, right? So nobody really knows the future. It's kind of like a coin flip at this point of how the market will do, but kind of looking bearish overall, to be honest. And when we also talk about trading, it's difficult to trade NFTs, especially during this time, mainly because, you know, everything's not going up like it used to. So you can't just like buy this random NFT and then a narrative like pumps it up like double or triple and then you sell it, right? Because in these markets, majority of things that you buy have a higher chance of just going down versus going up. And sometimes you might want to wait until there's more of a bullish period. Otherwise, you're just competing against other traders, and it's a trader's market, and that's actually very difficult. Now, I'm not saying you can't make money, but you have to compete against people who are very experienced when it comes to trading. And if you're not that experienced, you might get crushed. So if you're a beginner, sometimes it's better just to buy NFTs and gamble a little bit and degen a little bit when everything's going up, where everybody's a genius, right? And with the Terra update, you're right, there was some huge news last week where Terra, basically one of the top 10 alternative coins, which was going up and up and up and up, recently hit that rock bottom, right? So if we go over the past 7 days, you know, it was valued at $62 and then just went all the way down to 0.000022216. Okay, so it's not even a penny. Pretty unfortunate that this happened, and most likely it's not going to recover, mainly because, I mean, I'm not an expert when it comes to alternative coins, but I think people kind of lost their trust in Terra at this point, so difficult to recover. And even when we look at Terra USD, which is very closely connected to Luna Terra, you know, this is supposed to be a stable coin, and it went from, you know, $1 essentially, went to 0.4, then it's coming back up, and people are like, oh my God, it's coming back up, and then now it's just like dropped all the way to 0.17. So now, can this be repegged back to the $1? Honestly, I'm not really sure, because I'm not an expert when it comes to alternative coins, but, you know, I'll say looking in, I mean, there would be no reason for me to buy Terra USD, right? Because it's not, you know, seen as stable at this point anymore. And at this point, it's almost like a meme. Even Terra Luna, it seems like almost like a meme coin at this point, where people are just buying it to see if they can like degen a little bit and like double or triple or even more, multiply their money. But yeah, that's just what's going on in the alternative coin world. All right, so now kicking things off in a positive note, we're going to be talking about PXN. And as you know, they recently just revealed their art. We're first going to talk about the art, the reveal, my opinions on it, and then we're going to dive into some of the controversies that they had, but I didn't want to, let the controversies and drama and stuff like that overshadow the art, because I think there's really a lot of special things that we can learn from here, right? So I'm going to go on Opensea, and I am going to be sorting this by most viewed, so whatever the market views is the coolest, right, essentially. And when we're looking at the art, personally, in my opinion, it's pretty good. For the Parallax NFT, I'm basically the creative director, and like I'm putting all the traits and the artists together and stuff like that. So I kind of understand what it takes to, put something like this together. And my initial impression is that it's actually pretty difficult, right? First of all, when you look at how many different traits that they have, there's 289 different like headgears, and then there's 152 outfits. So quite a lot of headgear and outfits, which basically are the main things that make the NFT stand out, right? And for the eyes, there's like 52, earrings 23. All the other traits, they're not as many, but then it's really the hats and the clothes that really make the NFT. So first of all, the first thing I'll point out is that they got this interesting background where it's a glow, right? Some people like it, some people are, maybe not so in love with it. I think the smart thing about this is that when you see a PXN on your Twitter feed or on Discord, it's a PXN mainly because of how they did the lighting, right? It's like that dark background with the lighting in the back, and then the face is kind of like a shadow in a sense. So kind of like phantom-ish, right? And this is PXN Ghost Division. So I definitely get that. So when I go on my Twitter feed, I see like, oh, okay, these are PXNs for sure. The issue I see with that is that there's a bright neon sign in the back. The front is like kind of dark. So it's kind of hard to see the details of the NFT, especially when you see it in a little tiny like circle on Twitter. So that's something that is an interesting choice. I think they could have made the faces more clear, but hey, I'm sure there was a artistic decision behind that. So I mean, looking at the most popular NFTs, obviously the special ones are going to be cool. And if you're wondering why there's like these, little pictures over here, it's because they have to swap those out, and we'll talk about that in a second. So the art itself is pretty diverse. They have different themes, right? So when you go into the branches, there's going to be like Army, Support, Navy, Air Force. And so basically each branch is going to be some kind of theme. So you can see like this one's like a medic, right? And so there's like a whole set of characters that are medics. This one's more like samurai-ish. So, a whole set of characters that are samurai. And then there's like astronauts and different kind of things, right? Which actually makes it easier, because when you have different branches, you don't have to go deep in each one. You could be like, okay, these guys are the astronauts, and we'll make a couple assets here. These guys are the medics, so we'll just do a couple variations. Whereas let's say like other projects where if they go super hard when it comes to like samurai stuff, then the whole collection has to be samurai and it has to be deeper. But if you like that variety, it's interesting. Definitely I can see the inspiration from League of Legends with like the bunny stuff, the art style and things like that. So personally, in my opinion, did it live up to the hype in terms of like all the teasers that they had for the art? So when you go on their Twitter page, there's like all this hype, everyone's excited about these characters and things like that. So personally, in my opinion, it does live up to the hype, where a lot of the teasers that they put out, for example, like these are like concept art essentially, right? They do actually match the quality of the PFP, which is great, because like some people, they will have a really good concept art, and then the PFP looks nothing like the concept art, and it's like that's a little bit of a stretch. But for PXN, I personally think they did live up to the hype, especially like all the regular characters, not talking about the legendary ones and stuff, but just like the regular ones that you can buy on the floor. Overall, I would say like they're pretty good. So a lot of variety. I think there's something for everybody. Pretty inclusive, where they have a lot of different like skin tones, ethnicities, cultures put together. So I'm definitely a fan and a holder as well. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the controversies that's going on with PXN, and this kind of led to a lot of FUD in the project, which everyone have their different opinions on it. So let me just kind of report it first and then share my personal opinion on it, right? So a lot of people are saying like, because some of the characters really resemble some popular anime characters, that they feel a little uncomfortable because it gets too close to the copyright law. Now, I am not a lawyer, so I don't know what is right and wrong, and I'm not sure what falls under parody or what falls under like fair use. I'm literally not going to comment on that one because like I don't know the law, but we're just going to draw the resemblance, right? So if you see here, this is from, I forgot the name of the anime, but it's one of those popular animes, but it's pretty close. Sasuke over here from Naruto, we've seen this character before. One Punch Man, right? Saber from Fate Stay, Diva from Overwatch. So like if you're looking at this, like you can see that they're definitely very inspired by these characters. Now, I mean, some people say like, oh my, they copied it too closely and like they're gonna get a lawsuit and things like that. I mean, the team from like Ray has a law background, and he has people on his team that understand the law really well. So I'm pretty sure that they looked into this before they actually make these things. But one thing I appreciate is that because everyone was a little concerned, right? That's good in a good way, because if people are concerned about the project when it comes to the long term, whether they get sued or not, that means they actually care about the project and they actually are invested into the project, right? So actually, when you look at this from a high level perspective, this is great for the project overall, because it shows that people actually care. Because of these warriors, what they're going to do is for the legendaries and epics, which is around 15 to 20 pieces that stand out when it comes to, too much inspiration, they are going to replace that with different art. and then they're going to compensate anybody who purchased these for 10 Ethereum. Like for example, let's say you like the Zoro piece, for example, you might have paid a premium for that because you really wanted that one, right? And so it's a rare one, and so they're going to compensate people 10 ETH for that. So actually that's quite a bit of money. We're talking like maybe like $500,000 like compensated for this situation, which they technically don't have to do, but because they want to make the community feel comfortable, they want to do right, even though they may not agree. I can definitely respect that. And you can see over here that Ray put a comment. He's like, you know, I may not agree with your stance, but he's going to fix it anyways because that's what the community wants, and that's something I can respect in someone who is running a project. So when we look at the collection on Opensea, you see like these, that's like the Zoro one, that's like the other anime one, I forgot what his name, but that's a legendary, that's epic, right? And so basically they're going to replace these with something else, and because the art is good, you probably can expect that they're going to try pretty hard on these ones. All right, so the next project that we are going to talk about is going to be Azuki. And as you know, there's been a lot of drama when it comes to Zagabond, Azuki, and them doing like quote unquote rug pulls in the past, and they're trying to make it right. So let's talk about price first, and then we're gonna talk about the details, right? So essentially when all this photo was coming out, everybody was panic selling, and then Azuki actually got to like a 7.5 floor. And it seems like the community is very strong where, you know, there are people who are just like, okay, forget this. I don't want to hold Azuki anymore because I don't believe in the leadership, right? Understandable. And there are other people who are like, okay, well, I already have Azukis. I still believe in it. I made a lot of friends and the community is really strong. So even though this one person maybe didn't do the right thing, I'm still going to hold it, right? And so those people hold, and other people bought at the bottom because they're like, hey, maybe Azuki actually has some legs. And then it kind of pumped back up to like, you know, 15 ETH. And then now it's kind of like around that 13 ETH mark, which is pretty crazy because, you know, when I was watching this whole thing unravel, I was like, is this the end of Azuki? Like, is this like literally going down? And it seems like because of the community is just so strong and all the core holders continue to hold, and sometimes they even buy more, right? And other people are willing to buy more and kind of like forgive whatever happened in the past, that this community is still going pretty strong. So that's really interesting because, you know, even through something like that, Azuki is still going strong. It's almost like it literally just bounced back, and it's almost like in a situation where it's kind of like unkillable. Not that it's literally unkillable, but like something like that would, for most projects, like destroy the project, destroy the reputation, and it's over, right? But because maybe people are very invested in their bags, or maybe because people really believe in the community and they have like deep friendships in that community, they don't want to sell. So, you know, and it's still going strong. And even when we're looking at the Beanz, you know, the Beanz have been on a downtrend. They did bounce up a bit from, you know, it was like literally 1 ETH and now it's like 1.65. So definitely not bad, but still impressive, right? I mean, it was at like a 4 or 5 ETH before, but now it's at 1.6. I don't know, maybe there's an opportunity to buy if you believe in Azuki, right? So I think at this point, my guess is what will happen is people are going to forget. So all the people who are in the NFT space, if you think about it, it's not really that many. It's literally just like thousands of people that care. I don't even think it's millions of people that care about this whole drama, right? So when we fast forward NFTs like 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and all these new people are coming into the space for the first time, and they see like a Azuki, and they see like, oh my God, it's 15 ETH floor. Like, they're not going to really care too much on what happened in May and Zagabond did this and that and where's a rug pull, whatever, right? Like, probably not, you know, probably they're not really going to care if the brand is going strong and they can, you know, forgive, right? There are maybe people in this community that will never forget, and they might be like, you know, I'm never going to buy Azuki because of XYZ, and that's totally fine. But, you know, you only really need like a core, like few thousand people in a community to make it very strong, right? So even if there was like 10,000 people who are willing to pay, you know, 15 ETH for an Azuki, then the floor is 15 ETH, and that's all it takes, right? So I feel like they can recover from this. Personally, I'm not saying you should buy one. I'm not saying I agree with whatever happened in the past, but they are trying to make it right. So when we look at, you know, the updates on, you know, Zagabond and, you know, Crypto Funks and Crypto Zunks, you know, all the mint proceeds and royalties on LooksRare and Opensea and wherever the money was from, they gave it to the community members who are running those projects now. They refunded everybody who minted attendees. Now they're really focused on building Azuki. So in the end, you know, they returned all the money. You know, yes, it's kind of weird that they only did this because they got so much backlash from the community. Understandable. And probably if nobody mentioned it, or if it wasn't a big deal, possibly they would just have kept all the money, right? And so is that really the right thing to do? Probably not. But, you know, in the end, because of that backlash, you know, they got caught essentially, right? They returned the money. And I get it. Like, they have more to lose if they don't return the money. So like, if they don't return the money, it looks bad, and Azuki might go down and they lose a bigger asset, right? So if they just got to pay $1 million or $2 million and send it back to the community that is still wanting to build it, then actually that works out for them in the long term, and they also make more money. So you can kind of say like, did they really do the right thing because they wanted to, or did they do the right thing because there's more money in doing the right thing, right? Either way, they still did the right thing, so it is what it is. And yeah, all right, so the next project we're going to be talking about is going to be the Kaiju Kingz Scientist Mint. So they have a play to earn game coming up probably at the end of this year, early next year, and then they recently released some information about these scientists. So essentially there are these scientist NFTs that you can mint. It seems like it's going to be a free mint. You got to pay for gas, so literally there's infinite supply, I believe. But here's the catch. So for these scientists, right, there's like this whole play to earn mechanic where scientists can steal certain resources in this play to earn game. And this game is not really a game, it's an idle game, it's a money game essentially, right? It's not related to the real game that's going to come out. So you have to inject 0.06666 Ethereum to upgrade your scientist to give it the ability to be able to steal tokens essentially, right? And you can inject as much Ethereum as you want. And then how much Ethereum you inject will determine how much you can potentially steal, depending on how much other people are willing to spend on their scientists as well. And also if you boost it all the way from 0.4 ETH, then you get this little animation and like these visual effects on your scientists, which you can choose. So there are some interesting things to learn, and I think there are also some flaws in these tokenomics or economics. So let's go ahead and dive into it. And again, this is my personal opinion. I could be totally wrong, but it's just what I see from afar. So the first thing is, it's interesting that they would do this for free with like basically uncapped supply. It's almost like lead generation, right? It's just a way for people like to buy their first, something in the Kaiju King ecosystem, and maybe one day they will buy a mutant, or maybe one day they would buy a baby or something like that, right? So it's good that it onboards new people into the space because you don't have to pay for anything. It's literally a free NFT, and you get to choose what you invest. Now, when it comes to upgrading your scientists, this is where it's a little weird for me, because if you put in Ethereum, right, you don't know how much Ethereum everybody's going to put in together. And so you might feel FOMO, or you might feel like, oh, it's only worth it if I'm going to put at least 1 Ethereum. But then you don't even know the end result at the very end, and you have no idea what these tokens are worth that you're going to be stealing, right? And so from my personal perspective, because you don't know the odds of the game, it's almost like gambling, right? It's like you put in money, but you don't know what you're going to get out. So, you don't even know the odds of that. And I think that's going to scare a lot of people from upgrading their scientists, because if you put in 1 Ethereum and you don't even know if you can get 1 Ethereum back after this whole thing settles down, then it's kind of like, well, then why would I put money in, right? So I feel like if they were more clear on the odds of making money, right, or like, some kind of potential outcome people can aspire to, then they would make people feel more comfortable. But because it's kind of like very unclear on, if I put money in, how much money do I get back, I think it's going to scare a lot of people, honestly. So even though there's a lot of free scientists, people who mint a scientist, will they actually want to put money in? Maybe, but maybe not, right? But of course, there will always be people that really believe in the project that will put a lot of Ethereum in because they want to like steal a lot of these tokens. And that's great, because in reality, I think like 20% of the people, or even probably less than 20% of the people who mint the scientists are gonna contribute like the majority of the Ethereum. And that's usually how it goes for anything, right? It's like that 80-20 rule. So yeah, so I think it'll onboard new people, and then the whales that want to play this game, they'll put money in and they want to degen essentially, right? But it's an experiment and it hasn't been done before, so maybe this will work out and it'll onboard a lot of new people, or maybe it may not work as well as people think. But either way, I appreciate someone trying something new in the space to onboard new people, and so I'm going to be watching it closely to see if there's anything to learn moving forward. And so with that said, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Patrick Dang, and make sure to join the Parallax Discord to learn more about our upcoming NFT. That's everything for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.